What's going on, y'all? Today we're here going to show you how and where our knives are made that we use to hunt with. We're here with Chris Julian, Forged in Fire, TV star. Chris, thanks for letting us come over, man.
Not a problem, man.
Chris lives in my hometown. He does a great job. His knives are excellent, and I use them. I depend upon them. So this is the forge right there. In every single knife we start out using, we draw a picture. Show them the picture right there.
Yep.
And so we draw it first to scale. So this is my Gladius. What it's going to look like right there. All the dimensions, how the handle indexes, all the notes we have up on there. We've already cut out. Let's see it right there. Tell us about this, Chris.
So this here is 5160, and this is the blank that I start out with for the sword. We're doing kind of a full tang method, but adding some hidden tang things to it as well, where we're actually going to be putting a guard over top of this like we have here in the drawing. We'll also have a pommel also on there. And I got some brass back on over here that we're going to be using for that. So this is going to be a nice big sword for him to go out and use. So
absolutely. That's mainly going to be for buffalo in Argentina, and for looks, obviously it's going to be fantastic. Show them the knives that you make for me for all the hog hunting we do.
Yep. How
they're started and all this good stuff.
So of course, every piece starts out like a square stock, just like that, or a flat stock. And then I'll grind out the profile just like this. Depending upon the processes that we need for, if it's a one-off knife, I'll sometimes forge it out. In this case, I'm doing the stock removal method to get to this point here. And I do a little bit of forging in order to get a little bit of a curve here, because the width of the metal doesn't allow me to do stock removal to get the handle the shape that he would like to hold on to whenever he's out there hunting. But I'll grind out the bevels, hand sand them, get it ready for heat treat, drill out the holes and slot the guard and fit that to the tang just like that. That way everything's ready, perfect to go for heat treat. And then after I get done with heat treat, do a little more hand sanding, finish up the handle, glue it on the ram's horn scales, and it's ready to go.
And these right here, obviously he can make anything that I want, but we choose this steel, and this is the same as this, correct? This is going to be the
yes
D2, or this is the...
That there's 80 CRV2. This is 5160.
Okay, 80 CRV2, this right here. And so this will be sharp on top, down the first 5 inches, and this will be very, very sharp. And they're very strong as well, because once I get in the swamp, waist deep in the winter time or whatever, I want this thing to work, and I want it to not break. I don't want it to crack, and so we depend upon Chris to make sure that all of that happens, and his knives, they don't fail.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I chose 80 CRV2 for the Bowie knives for him, because it has a really nice grain structure, it's really strong at that point, and it's real easy to heat treat, so that's the nice thing about that. With the 5160, since it's a larger weapon that you'll be using out there, and I want to make sure that it's strong for you, I used 5160 for this. Not quite as hard as the 80 CRV2, but as far as toughness, there's no way that you can beat 5160 on that. So it'll be a very tough sword for you.
Perfect.
So with the tube over here, what that's going to do whenever I go for heat treat on that one knife, what that does is it allows it to evenly heat up. That way I'm not growing up the grain structure too big. Otherwise then it'll weaken the knife, and we don't need that obviously whenever he's going out there hog hunting. But with 80 CRV2, like I said before, it's got a real tight grain structure already. It's real easy to heat treat, so that actually helps prevent that a little bit. But just to be doubly sure, I like making sure I use this method here to keep the grain structure down with all my knives.
So that tube is going to make sure you heat up that knife evenly all the way around.
Yes. Yeah, and that's exactly what you want. Otherwise, if you got a spot that's too hot, that grain structure is going to be too big. If it's not hot enough, it's not going to harden as hard as the rest of it. So you want to make sure everything's nice and even to have a consistent heat. and that's before it's all the way martensitic through. So right after it's hardened, there's a crystalline structure of the steel. So I was telling you about the grain structure.
Yep.
If I were to take a piece of 1095, overheat it, and then go in and quench, the grain would be real large, like, you know, real gritty, big grain sand. Whereas if I were to sit there and thermocycle that, you know, this one's already been thermocycled. If I were to sit there and break this, it would have a, like almost a silty kind of texture to it. That's what I'm talking about, the grain structure. So the grain is still kind of setting up right now. So it'll be a few minutes here before I'd really be able to tell, okay, how hard is it? So, but I'm pretty confident that I got the heat treat on this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut that off. Check the straightness of this.
Perfect. That's great.
Actually came out pretty straight, which is really nice.
Well, thanks for letting us come out here today, man.
Not a problem.
It looks good.
Appreciate it.
Looks good.